Hound Dog. These are the SAC men of the Strategic Air Command. They have made a missile and bomber into a weapons team unmatched in versatility and destructive power to give this nation its most invulnerable. This is a true story of a special bomber mission. Its stars are the highly mobile and flexible Hound Dog air-to-surface missile and the SAC men who flew Operation Blue Nose.
Although the Hound Dog missile is a key element in our defense structure today, it arrived at Eglin Air Force Base only a few months ago to begin operational testing.
There it was, the Hound Dog, the air-to-ground missile which would transform the B-52 strategic bombers into flying missile bases. The high-powered bird that could go screaming in ahead of the bomber and soften things up with a nuclear blast. The crew went out to meet it that rainy afternoon. This was the test crew for SAC. 6 men who would take the first operational birds on their shakedown flights. 6 men who would pave the way for the B-52 squadrons, which would soon be equipped with Hound Dog missiles. That's the plane commander, Captain J. McDonald, on the left. At 35, he's the old man of the crew. The co-pilot is Frank Rufty, a history major at Duke University, a collector of Civil War literature. The man with the candy bar is First Lieutenant Benny Leatherwood. The scholarly lieutenant is Gale Stokes, radar navigator. George Edwards, electronic countermeasures officer, is from Missouri. The 6th man is the gunner, Staff Sergeant Tony Journey from North Carolina. The plane is the B-52G. The crew knew that the contractor had been flight testing the GAM-87 successfully. Now it was their bird, and they called it Hound Dog.
Good.
By the next morning, Tony Journey had named the cruise off as Hound Dog Heaven. And J. McDonald's men were busy charting their shakedown flight and studying the checkout procedures. If the B-52 Hound Dog weapon system was to work efficiently, each man had to know his job and how it related to every other man's duties. They were no longer just a bomber crew. They had taken on the responsibilities of missilemen, and they had plenty of questions.
I think we'll get most of our answers once we start flying.
Colonel, what about the stability of the plane after we launch the bird?
You'll find the autopilot will hold it, Frank. You won't have to handhold the controls.
To maintain center of gravity and lateral balance, we'll have to juggle fuel.
If we're carrying 2 missiles and launch one of them, we'll have to add some lateral trim.
What's the effect of the stability of the aircraft on celestial shots?
Probably improve it.
Right, Gale. That's a design characteristic of the B-52 GAM-87 combination.
Several things have been bothering me. At least I'm curious about them. What about drag? Is there any chance of fire when I start the missile engine? What if we don't get a clean separation? The bird just hangs there, just flapping in the breeze.
Considering the aerodynamic cleanliness of the bird, I'd say we have minimum drag, Colonel.
As to engine fire and flight, I'd say definite negative to that. And the separation characteristics of the missile to date have been 100%. The missile either cleanly separates from the aircraft or stays mated to the wing.
Since I'm going to be missile operator, how much time does this leave for navigation?
Launch and pre-launch activity doesn't take too much time, and that's a surprise. I kind of figured you need an extra hand and 2 heads.
When you're working with the missile, Benny, Gale will be wearing 2 hats, the radar operators and the navigators. And that ought to be cold turkey for a 5/8.
What gets me is once we launch that bird, we never see it again.
That's all right with me. I'm glad I'm not on the target end of that thing.
I thought you were skeptical of our bird, Tony. What happened? You've been reading recruiting propaganda?
Well, 2 weeks ago, I was down at the hangar and everything was fouled up as a Chinese fire drill. Today I was down there and no one had time to talk to me. Everyone's becoming a missile expert.
Tony was right. New Hound Dogs were arriving, and the maintenance hangar was loaded with both missiles and experts. There was a time when a good trooper was a man who could keep his shoes shined and his rifle clean. But these airmen, trained in Hound Dog technology by the contractor in the Air Force, are specialists in guidance, engine repair, hydromechanics, power plants, flight control. And in the combined systems area, where the missile is put through its paces on the rock and roll table, other technicians man the batteries of consoles that evaluate the missile's performance prior to flight.
Colonel, this is our first operational combined systems run. We're checking out flight controls, propulsion, and guidance systems.
You know, another interesting thing about this missile as opposed to others, most of them you have to fire, see if they work. But with this missile, we can check her out for airworthiness right on the stand. How's it going, Sergeant Peacock?
Fine, sir. We'll hang it on the Big Bird tomorrow morning with complete combined system.
Real good.
Ready for the first training mission, the missile was serviced with ammonia coolant, then moved to the loading area where the non-tactical instrumentation was installed in the warhead compartment. Once airborne, the NTI kit would provide performance data, destruct capability, and position information. The Air Force personnel were becoming accustomed to handling the missile in the pylon using ground support equipment designed especially for this weapon system. At last, the Hound Dog was towed to the runway to be mated to the B-52. The missile chief, Sergeant Red Zillowitz, turned the bird over to Sergeant Adams, the B-52 crew chief.
Well, Adam, she's all yours. Only until she's airborne. I see they're about ready to take her up. We'll see you. See you tonight, Adam. So far, so good on the Big Bird, Colonel.
Good, Mac. I hope the little birds check out as well. By the way, one of the important objectives of this mission that we may not have given enough attention to is the airworthiness check of the NTI kit. I hope we don't miss any data on it.
The boys are all primed, sir. We'll meet all the objectives.
Real good. By the way, Mac, another interesting development in the program, which I'll pass on to you after the debriefing of the mission.
Roger, sir.
We'll see you.
Yes, sir. Nice takeoff, sir.
That's a good cruise, Sarge.
And the airplane, too, sir.
It better be good, because about 30 days from now, that crew and that airplane and the missiles are going to the North Pole.
The North Pole, sir.
That's right. To the North Pole, return to Cape Canaveral for a launch on the Atlantic Missile Range, and then to Eglin. Now, the ops order on this mission calls for an evaluation of the GAM-87 over a 24-hour period simulating air alert posture. Of course, there are other requirements, and to meet these, for the next few weeks, you folks, the B-52 maintenance personnel, and the GAM missile maintenance personnel will be quite busy.
They were busy, all right. The North Pole mission demanded absolute precision from the missile, plane, and the crew. Every system, every component was checked out singly and in combination. From the flight control package to the combined systems run, until at last the two missile pylon combinations were towed to the aircraft and mated to the wing. On the eve of the mission, J. McDonald's crew was ready to take part in a briefing for task force personnel on all phases of Operation Blue Note.
The primary goal of this mission, the reliability and accuracy of the Hound Dogs in polar regions.
On this mission, we will evaluate the specific effect of cruising over long distances with 2 Hound Dog missiles aboard.
This will mark the first time that a SAC bomber has fuel to such a heavy in-flight weight with 2 operational air-to-surface missiles on board.
If for any reason the mission is delayed, the test director at Cape Canaveral will be notified immediately.
The success of this mission will advance the missile platform bomber concept. It will prove that our planes and crews can fly over 10,000 miles, operating under extremely rough conditions, navigating over polar regions, after exposing the missile to extremes of temperature and pressure, and return to the ZI and drop a weapon with point accuracy. The answer to our problems will start at 1840 hours tomorrow evening. That's all, gentlemen.
Tony, hey, I got these hats for you and the crew. Gee, thanks, son. Don't thank me. Just remember me when you get over the pole. It's a deal.
Navigator, give us the time hang.
In 10 seconds, the time will be 1800. Ready? Ready? Hack!
Crew, and hut! Dismiss aboard aircraft.
Starting external air and stand by to start 4. Roger, sir. You have 30 PSI. Clear to start number 4. Starting 4.
It was warm inside the B-52 as they started the engines. It was going to be cold later on.
Now, close all hatches. Roger, sir.
The 2 navigators were getting ready for a long, long trip.
That's not lock lights now. Roger, sir. Disconnecting interphone. Clear to taxi on signal.
Skybird 70, Nexion, initiate ATC clearance, please.
Roger, 570, transonic clear. Radar, close bomb doors. Bomb doors coming closed.
Eglin Tower, Firebird 70 rolling.
Firebird 70, cleared for takeoff, wind 240 degrees, 10 knots, over.
Airborne at 1920 hours, proceeding according to flight plan.
Navigator, go behind. Am I clear to start the missile engines?
Roger.
Pilot, what's the outside air temperature?
Plus 18.
Operationally, the Hound Dog engines can be started on the ground and used for extra thrust on takeoff. On training flights like Operation Blue Nose, the engines are started in the air. With the engines operating, all the missile systems can be tested again.
When are you going to serve the coffee?
Roger, but I'm expecting a stewardess uniform for Christmas.
The hours pass slowly for the crew as Firebird 70 races the sun to the pole and back. The plane will be in the sunlight every one of the 24 hours aloft.
Migrate, this is Firebird 70, over.
Roger, Firebird 70, this is Mike. Go ahead.
Migrate, this is Firebird 70. Operations normal, point alpha at 1955 Zulu. Relay to Spar and Ritzy, over.
Next on the flight schedule, refueling. Somewhere in the vast skies over North America, at a pinpoint on a chart, the B-52 and the KC-135 move at near sonic speeds toward rendezvous.
Pilot, this is Radar. I've got the tanker out at 135 miles, about 5 degrees off our nose to the right. Roger, keep giving me range. Pilot, this is Radar. Have the tanker now slightly off our nose to the left this time at about 95 miles, closing nicely. He's 60 miles now, 60 miles.
The Air Force's KC-135 tanker. Its pilot, like J. McDonald in the B-52 cockpit, is ready to begin the delicate refueling operation.
Go, pilot, open the slipway doors.
Roger. Doors are open.
Despite great speed and sudden gusts of air, McDonald maintains his plane's exact position in relation to the tanker. The volatile jet fuel, thousands of pounds of it, flows from one aircraft to the other. Refueling operation completed, the tanker returns to its base.
Migrate, this is Firebird 70. Would you give me a phone patch to Ritzy Control? Ritzy Control.
Roger, Firebird 70.
Colonel Wellborn? We have a phone patch from Firebird 70.
Thank you. Firebird 70, this is Firebird 1. Go ahead.
This is Firebird 70. We have completed refueling. We have one guidance system shut down and the other operating normally. We've started high latitude checks with the missile. I think we have a goer.
Roger. Firebird 1 out.
Things seemed to be going well. The men were confident. But there were many tedious miles to cover before the missile launch. Mile after mile of flight with only a cat nap for relief. and the sensitive systems within the missile had yet to be exposed to the worst extremes of cold, the sub-zero temperatures of the Arctic North.
Coming up on the pole in 1 minute. Hey, Frank. We're over the pole. Roger.
Journey took time for a quick look at the polar cap and then got on the intercom to keep a promise.
Richard gave us a Hound Dog ads. He wanted us to mention him over the pole. This is Staff Sergeant Tony Journey telling you, Richard, wherever you are, we're sitting on top of the world.
The two Hound Dogs had apparently weathered the journey all right so far. Instruments inside the B-52 indicated all the systems were still functioning perfectly. There was still a long way to go. Another 5,000 miles of flight, from the ice above the dew line to the Atlantic Missile Range, from the Arctic Circle to the Caribbean Sea, and then the missile launch.
Roger. Starboard one out. They're almost exactly on time, Jack, at T-minus 50. They'll be turning downrange at T-minus 30. At that time, you scramble the fighter. T-minus 30. Roger.
The long flight was nearly over. They were getting close to home. To simulate combat conditions, two Hound Dogs have been carried on the mission, although only one will be launched.
Firebird 1, this is Firebird 7-0. T-minus 30 minutes. Ready, now.
They approached the missile range. It was time for the Hound Dog to be put to the test.
Corrected T-time is now T-minus 130 seconds. Co-pilot, advance number 1 engine to max power and get me ready for launch. Roger. Engine stabilized, max power. Starting final countdown. Ready? 10, 9, 8, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now.
The launch is successful. Separation is clean, and the missile begins to pick up speed.
You ain't nothing but a Hound Dog, but go, bird, go.
At tracking stations along the Florida coast, on the Caribbean islands, and at Cape Canaveral, the path of the supersonic missile is monitored, evaluated.
We're looking good. The bird's on program climb, program course.
Speeding toward its target, hundreds of miles downrange, the Hound Dog systems function smoothly. All has gone according to plan. What the engineers designed, what the maintenance crews checked out, what the SAC men tested, is proving itself. The pylon will be used again with other Hound Dog missiles. Only one thing more. Will the Hound Dog strike its target? On its own, the missile streaks over the ocean. Then, reaching the target area, it dives to a predetermined point in the sea.
Starboard 7-0, this is Starboard 1, over. Birds on target, troops. Well done.
Say, did you hear that? Let's go home, friends. We'll be there in time for dinner.
Home that night. But on other nights, home would be an alert shack, shared with other bomber crews.
In a few minutes, we'll sound the all clear, which will end another practice alert. Then our crew, like others at SAC bases all over the world, will return to their alert quarters to sleep, write letters, perhaps watch television or drink coffee, but mostly to wait. To wait for that moment none of them wants to come. That moment they believe will not come. They believe that they and the weapon system they hold in their hands, the B-52 Hound Dog combination, will symbolize the strength and determination of free men, men who intend to remain free.